Going live in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf. Zelensky says that Russia hit Ukraine's power infrastructure and U.S. should step in. Vladimir Zelensky said on Thursday that Russian artillery had damaged Ukraine's energy infrastructure in the frontline city of Kherson 2 days after the U.S. announced that each side had agreed on a truce on energy strikes. Of course, I think that was 4 days into the flaming gas oil pipeline in Russia, but again, I think both sides have something to claim here. 2 days ago, there was a night where there were no strikes on the energy sector. Today, energy infrastructure in the city of Kherson was damaged by Russian artillery. Zelensky said in Paris, "I believe that the U.S. should respond with actions." Now, he's stepping way out. The U.S. ain't going to do nothing, at least not right now. But Europe, on the other hand, I wonder if this is being done so that Europe can go, well, we need to step in because obviously they are violating their truce. This is after an entire week of them talking about sending in troops from all sorts of European nations as peacekeepers. We're going to talk about this and much, much more, and even some of the other stuff that's going on far worse. So, again, stick around. We're going to talk about it the best we can right in after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. We were talking about, so this was on screen for a brief second. So we were talking about the last show we did over on news and my bad dad jokes about Putin and, you know, how they had all these rumors about his cancer and how somebody was physically following him around and picking up his Putins, right? But we were talking about just how as you get older, your dad joke game gets worse and worse. And mine is definitely at its peak. I said it was like a thermometer with mercury, and it's get to the top, and the top is heating up, and it just explodes, and then you're a dad jokester. It just happens. But we were also then talking about comedy and about movies that have basically just gone downhill. Comedy, since everybody is now offended about everything, has gone completely just to garbage. Now, most of you probably saw Mel Brooks. I was actually surprised by this. Mel Brooks made the original show Get Smart. Get Smart, the original show, is one of my favorites. I grew up on all of the much older shows than I was. But Get Smart was something that really stuck out. But we were talking about the humor that you just can't have anymore. The History of the World Part 1, look at that compared to History of the World Part 2 that was made like 4 decades later or something. Robin Hood, Men in Tights, Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles. Whether you like Mel Brooks or not, the humor that they used to be able to get away with was awesome. Leslie Nielsen was super funny, but as the time went on and now as people were more and more offended, it was like less and less could be said, and then you just couldn't make a joke. Now we get to the primal point. In 2024, it was like comedians were basically striking. They were saying, we can't say anything without being offended. And the people that did just say, screw it, I'm going to offend you. Those are the most talked about comedians of our day. People like Matt Rife are all over the news, where normally that he wouldn't have gotten any airtime at all. But he says the things that nobody else says, so people, of course, are drawn to that. They say the same thing with like Andrew Tate, the people that are not afraid to say the things that everybody else is afraid to. People are going to go to those people, and it's a sad place where we are in our world where we can't make a joke. So just a side note, it really is sad. Now, as far as the conflict and everything that's going on right now, this is something that's been building for a long time. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine. With this whole notion of the front line of the infrastructure being hit, the fact that he said it was on the front line. Well, the front line has got conflict going on. I mean, like a shell could take out a telephone pole, which could knock out a transformer, which could then cause somebody in that region to not have power. And now they're going to call it, oh, they've attacked the infrastructure. I mean, come on. Like it'd be totally different if they were like sending in cruise missiles and taking out power plants, which is what they were doing. But on the front lines where there's just continuous shelling going back and forth on both sides, I'm sure some transformers are getting hit from time to time that are hanging on poles that are causing power outages.
Because remember, he clarified it was on the front lines, and it was with artillery. It's not a missile, a targeted strike on energy infrastructure. By no means are we sticking up for Russia here, but most of us see that Zelensky is trying to get this war started, and I don't think he actually wants it. I think that he's being told to want it because he's getting paid. Him and the 9 people under him that lives in their super mansions and drive supercars, very suspiciously, should not be driving supercars and should not have mansions. Maybe the president would, but again, the president himself, if you go back to 2014, was picked for his dancing skills and his acting skills as a regular Joe that becomes the president in a show that he wrote and created. That's something I knew about that show the whole time since 2022, but I did not know he wrote and created that. I mean, think about it. Not only could he play the part, he wrote the part and he created it. I mean, like, that's insane. And people don't have any kind of inkling that maybe he's just an actor that is given a script. Blows my mind. Kind of crazy. But either way, Ukraine says its latest attack on a Russian airbase blew up 96 cruise missiles, which is a big deal. I'm sure that made quite a boom. And they said that Ukraine said a recent attack on Russian Engels air base destroyed 96 cruise missiles. Satellite images show blackened craters. Russia has used the airbase to launch regular bomber attacks on Ukraine. Ukraine's armed forces said that a recent attack on one of Russia's key military air bases caused a stockpile of 96 air-launched cruise missiles to explode. That would have been an incredible secondary explosion. It's, again, the back and forth there is not supposed to stop. They're not agreeing, to a peace. They were agreeing to not hit energy infrastructure. So the fact that this is coming, the timing of it really seems odd, considering the rest of the zeitgeist is talking about how war is now starting. Of course, we've all seen this coming for a very long time. What is going on over in chat? Linda Hope, Tammy Driver, we're all Winston now. What's going on? Tracy Q, hey, nice to see you. Let's see here. We had an actor too, Ronnie Reagan. I know, and he's one of the favorites. Well, the thing is it's a popularity game. The presidential election used to be, it was a popularity thing. And then, LO, how many of us were remote control for our parents? The 3 channels. That is funny. Yeah, and how many of you had to jiggle the antennas back and forth and had to stand there forever, like holding it and just tweaking it just the tiniest bit to get that reception? Yep, I was the remote control for sure. And then when your old TV died, since it was built like a warehouse table, you would just put your new TV on top of the old one. Dex, let's see here. So America being hit by an EMP weapon is the single greatest danger. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, certainly. And just a caveat, though, Reagan was also a governor for almost, 10 years or just shy of it? Or 8 years.
So was Schwarzenegger.
He had experience as a politician before he became a president, not just an actor. But yeah, I digress. So look, this again, more coming out about the theories and the threats, really not theories, the absolute threats of electromagnetic pulses, and coming from William Forthishin, who has one of the biggest books out on the topic called 1 Second After, talking about what would happen there. But he said, we should have paid closer attention to my book. I was caught when I was caught without emergency supply of water and went without power for 30 days and without internet for 45 days. I can't imagine surviving like that for 6 months, a year, or even longer, which would be the reality in the event of an EMP strike. So long regarded as the foremost expert in EMP technology, he has been consulted by numerous federal, state, and local governments and private entities, and he's spoken at conferences all over the U.S. He's citing the country's already vulnerable energy grid and said that this attack, when it happens, will wipe out power and set off a cascade of deadly events. The first necessity people would lose is water. I mean, think about it. You're not going to have power. You're not going to have pumping stations that are pumping your water. The generators there will run out of gas quickly, and that'll be the end of it. And you won't have running water. So that's going to cause all sorts of problems. Then they're going to be followed by food supply and medication, because without fuel, none of the food is going to be brought to the grocery store. Medications will run out immediately at the pharmacies. So if you don't have medications on backup, and you don't have food on backup, you don't have water on backup, then you're going to be dealing with that. And then of course disease is going to set in. And then long-term survival turns into the problem, right? How do you get, you're not talking 72 hours like they're talking in Europe. We're talking months and months and months. Some have suggested it could be up to a year or more. It will be that in many locations. And in other locations, it'll actually be a lot less. So keep in mind, there are places where the grid has been fortified, or at least it's been started to. We've got witnesses that have told us that. We know in Texas they've been investing on it. It's the only one they talk publicly about. The other grids they don't. It's very hush-hush. But and it also depends on where you live and where the magnitude of the blast is. If you're further out on the coastlines, you'll probably get power back sooner. If you're right in the epicenter in Kansas, you're probably going to be sitting unpretty for quite a long time.
Yeah, and really think about that. So with this is one of the things that's going to happen afterwards is people now, especially since everybody is just absolutely hooked on all of their phones, their technology, everything else. Now people have almost been trained not to really understand anything until somebody tells them to. When it comes down to it, people are not going to have Google. People are not going to have these things that they have now had as a crutch. People have just sat and they whatever is going on outside, people go to Google. Heck, I do it too. When we had the lightning storm yesterday, the first thing you do is you look up the map. You have a website for everything. Well, when there is no website for everything, and that's what we're saying. This is something that we knew for years is a vulnerability, and we still haven't fixed it. The current president did something back in 2018 and signed an executive order. That executive order was essentially paused for 4 years. And I bet you our adversaries know that if we have that executive order go back into play, that they would want to hit us before we end up getting all of those vulnerabilities fixed, especially when they have their eye on the prize, and that prize is within the next 2 years. We're talking about by 2027. There's a reason why these generals and all of these folks are saying that by a certain year that this is going to happen. That doesn't mean it's going to happen in 2027. In fact, they're more looking at it's going to happen before that. They're saying by that time, because I think that there is some sort of deadline that a lot of them know up above us that we don't. This is why our focus here has been to let you guys know. Food, water, medicine, and protection. Protection, again, also a lot of other things too, should be on your right hip at all times, right? So these are the things that are really, really important. And if you get those fundamental blocks down, you'll be better through something like this. Dex, go ahead.
You know, the lack of internet and information will be a big deal. And I know it's not easy to have a library of books in your house of everything that's ever been printed. I'm sure it makes sense to get a handful of the most popular common things like what to eat, off the land in your location. There's plenty of good books about that, and medical books that you might have a handful of the most important. But the other thing that don't really think about, and you should really consider doing this, is taking an old phone or taking an old device, whether it's an old tablet, old phone, and just loading it up with all of the information you can get about survival, about the different types of information you might possibly need, and then storing that in a Faraday bag. And having that offline and having another device that can, charge it up or power it up, and keeping that also in a position that won't be affected, so that after the fact you could turn to that and have more information than what you might actually have in print media in your house.
Now, it said something about the young people playing video games, arguing, fighting, and protesting. And, specifically, a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people talk about this younger generation and how frankly, a lot of people have said that they're useless, right? Well, just as bad. Our generation and the generations above me, we're just as bad too. We've grown dependent on this stuff. Okay, so if you think that we're better because we're older and wiser, it's not like that. Because unfortunately, all of us are doing this. When you look at a picture of New York, anywhere from 20-year-olds up to 70-year-olds, they're all looking down on their damn phones. And when those phones turn off, and they all turn off at the same time, you might be in a New York crossing, and you'll notice that 100 people all lost their phone at the same time. Yeah, you might know this is going to happen. But if you're in a house by yourself and your power goes out and your stuff goes out, you may not know. Last year, we had our internet freeze at the exact same time that our cell phones went out. Not our power. We still had our power, but our internet froze at the same time as our cell phones, and they're not connected. So if the power would have went out, at that point, we would have bugged out. Because at that point, we would think, okay, the first thing I would have done is went out and tried to, start my car and make sure everything works, right? If I saw neighbors doing the same, I would be out of there. Because honestly, a lot of people are not going to know what happens for the first 24 hours, and by then it's too late. You have to know the signs of when this happens, and I should say if this happens, right? And I do believe that this is the easiest and the most obvious attack to hit our country. And that's why for years we've told you guys, protect against these main things: food, water, medicine, and protection. And what's his face? Protection also could be EMP shield, or it could mean, like Baron Saturday says, on that note, Beretta is having a sale. These are the things that people really should have kind of the fundamentals down before you go anywhere further. And then printing out supplies, printing out paperwork with, what to eat if you don't have stores. The stores will be empty almost immediately. Like if you saw how we acted during CV when there was 5-hour lines into Costco to get toilet paper like idiots. Just imagine if there's no gas stations either. And people will be caught off guard. How many people do you think really keep 3/4 of a tank full? How many people keep a full tank? Or with the economy, how it is, what do you want to bet that most people are on their last quarter tank and they fill it up with $5 or $10 or $15 when they can? Feel free to raise your hand. You're not alone. A lot of people are doing the same thing. So when you may not have gas, and you may have gas to get to the gas station down the street, but do you have gas to get the one down the road that has a backup generator, right? Probably not. Or you have to go out to the country to go to some farming supplies place to get gas, right? Are you going to have the gas to get there? A lot of people are going to say no. And when the gas stations are all out, then all of a sudden it's going to get really dire really, really quick. And this is something that's preventable. It's something that we could stop and that we could actually do something against and do something about. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple other tips to consider. If you have solar panels and you're planning on using them after, you're not using them. If you're using them all the time, then you need to put protection on them. But if you're just storing them, store them without the cables attached. It's the cables that actually will fry them. But if they're not attached to anything, they'll survive so that you can use them after the fact. And then having a printed map of your general location. is also handy for those of us that have become so accustomed to using a phone to get anywhere. And especially on that map, having other forms of travel, like I printed maps for my kids
Trails.
so they knew how to go down the trails, how to go down the power lines, which power line roads to use to get, from point A to point B, as opposed to walking down the main road or the interstate.
Now I know some of the folks in the generation beyond me, you probably still actually have a physical map in your car, but I even see fewer with that even. My grandpa would have absolutely had a huge chunky book with every single map and road in the United States. He had it in his vehicle all the time. Nobody has that anymore because they just think, oh, I can just turn on my phone and do this. At one point, you won't. So perfect timing to mention right now, not to go buy one. Go enter the actual giveaway right now. 5 of you could actually win an EMP shield. This is a giveaway that we've done many of these before. We ask and we beg to get these from all of our affiliates so that for those of you that can't afford one, that you get a chance to get protection for free. Again, this is a giveaway that is exclusively for our audience, and 5 people will be able to get an EMP shield. That means that if you get an EMP shield, you'll be able to put that in your vehicle and you'll be able to get home, or you'll be able to get your family out. If you have it on your main vehicle that you are thinking, I'm bugging out with this thing, then that's the vehicle you want to put it on. Don't put it on the 4-seater sports car. Put it on the 8-seater minivan or the SUV. Again, marfooglenews.com/giveaway. This is an EMP giveaway, so 5 EMPs will be given away, and then one lucky winner will actually get a $1,000 credit towards Grid Down. We talk about EMP. We've talked about it for 5 years. People think, oh, it gets old, or oh, this is just for EMP. This is one of the most probable events to happen to us. It is one of the most likely out of everything that's going to happen. This does not take a direct life. What's going to take the life is our unpreparedness. Us being unprepared is what is going to take all of our lives. Is that not just like a mind-blowing thought? That it is going to be our own fault that we perish. And it's going to be our previous governments, all of them. It's going to be their fault. But do you think they're going to care? They all have bunkers. They all have golden passports. They all have the ability to take a private jet somewhere else and resume as normal, right? Business as usual. And that's what they considered it, business. They cared about the bottom line in their pocket. They didn't care about anybody else. So their kids aren't going to be going and fighting when World War III hits Europe, and when we get inevitably pulled in by some sort of Fantastic Freddy event that pulls us in. Much like Pearl Harbor pulled us into World War II. So go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/giveaway. And again, if you do end up wanting to buy one, there's if you buy up to 4, you can get $200 off, 3, $120, 2, $60 off, and 120. And that stacks on top of our $50 off discount. You can also just go there at marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You'll help our independent media. Again, the affiliates that we pick, you may not like it, but again, we don't rotate 1,000 different things. We pick the products that we think will actually save your life. This has been the story. We've had 1,000 companies come to us and say, oh, can you take this thing that will shave somebody's balls? No. We've picked ones that we actually believe will save your life. And no offense to anybody that does those scaping things. I'm just saying, we do not have some other company, a third party that gets a percentage that decides what is going through on a daily basis. That's what all of those channels do. When they're just like, oh, here's a keto diet or something. Why is this person that's like a vlogger telling me to keto diet when he doesn't keto diet? Because some other third party is telling him to. That's not our channel. Again, it's going to help you. It's going to save you. It's going to get you home or get you out. NATO to Putin. Attack Poland and our response will be devastating. Dex, what? It's like nonstop. They are trying to get this popping.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it would be devastating if you strike any NATO nation. You're going to have all of NATO enter the game. I think they're just wanting to sound off the rhetoric and keep the drive moving forward on this whole notion of war. And I really think that they're on the precipice of starting it. They really want this thing to kick off. They're frustrated that they're not able to continue to get the U.S. funding to just drive everything through Ukraine. So now they're going to take it the rest of the way. They want to take Putin out, and they want to go toe to toe with him, which I don't think is a good idea at all. So, but yeah, so when it comes to the defense of Poland and the general defense of NATO territory, if anyone were to miscalculate and think they can get away with an attack on Poland or any other ally, they will be met with the full force of the fierce alliance, Rudd said at a press conference with the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk during his visit to Warsaw.
And we know that Poland during all of this stuff that happened with Ukraine, and when we had the flag, and when Pelosi and all these people were pulling out the flag in our Congress and asking for all the money and all that same money that got kicked back to different people's pockets, all of this, Warsaw was the one that had Ukrainian flags all around their capital. It looked like it was Ukraine. So there's shady stuff going on here. All right. They want this war. The military industrial complex, which is directly connected to some of the people that were just in charge of our country and in charge of these groups that all are interconnected through these groups that want to have us all under one umbrella. Those are all connected. Same people are saying this. This was a grandstand. Look at what he's doing. This is a picture from the actual conference. Look at this. He's literally pointing like, it will be devastating. It will be devastating. Putin, you do this. This is for the public. This isn't for Putin. This is for the public to see that they're going back and forth and it's just fiery rhetoric. That's why you see all of our peers all of a sudden saying, oh my God, it's war. They're starting. No, duh. We've been telling you for 5 years. Our community has been telling our friends and family for years, and now when it happens, everybody's going to be caught off guard. Europe is going to pop off first, and then we're going to be drawn in. It's history repeating itself over and over. It's not a YouTube conspiracy. It's reality, and people are just so ingrained in their phones or TikTok that they just don't see it. It's very sad that the people around us are going to be completely unprepared, and they're going to be screwed when this all goes down. And then we have NATO orders British-made. By the way, a lot of our military, Foogle fam, everybody is saying Middle East is about to pop off. It's like the last 4 days have been insane amount of emails, people messaging on Twitter. It's like all of this was predicted. We knew this was going to happen. Just watch the news in the next 2 weeks. You're going to see all sorts of other headlines confirming exactly what we've been saying for a long time. All things random. Thanks for sharing the real news. Hey, thank you, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Stephen Click says, dude, I'm an ultimate prepper. I live in one of the craziest places ever. I could get books about the edibles and how to process materials, but I know that everyone else around me knows I'm stocked up. That's the other thing. Probably people stopped doing this because they realized it was dumb. Everybody was asking myself and every other peer, show the stocks. Where are your stocks? You don't show your stocks. You don't tell people you're stocked up. And now there are some people, and this was an inner debate in our Foogle family because everybody was looking to help. Like if your whole extended family comes knocking on your door when everything hits the fan, the Christian sect, a lot of us Christians say, well, we've just got to help. No matter what, you help your fellow man. But there's the real debate, like these people that have not listened and heeded to your warnings 50, 60,000 times. And then they're not prepared when this happens. Guess what they're going to do? These pastors down the street will turn into murderers. It's no joke. They're going to look at how to protect their family and protect theirs. So when you are the prepper in the family, it's like anytime a big serious disaster happens, you're the ones who everybody calls. What do I do? What do I do? I think it's kind of messed up, because for years we've told you've basically said whatever, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, it's going to be a nothing burger. And then when the real disasters happen, and we can see this in every major disaster, there are plenty of people that can attest to this. The preppers in Katrina. Right? The preppers that did live through that and that did fine through it, that had generators through all that whole thing, their friends and family came to them straight away. The same family members that weren't listening about any of this other stuff. And we're talking about just prepping for natural disasters and things. On the West Coast, if you're not prepped, then you're kind of an idiot. I'm sorry. Because you have Cascadia and San Andreas right there. That's a potential event right there. And if you're not prepped, then you're not doing it right. And if you think that this is all crazy and that this is all fear-mongering, then you missed a step, that you shouldn't even be here. You should be going back and learning the reasons why you should be here. So yeah, like when this all goes down, our friends and family members they're absolutely going to come knocking on our door. So I would have a secondary plan. And also if people know where your stuff is, I would have, they say to have like a stock of stuff that you can say, this is all of our stuff, and let them take it. Don't fight them. Don't do anything. Say, hey, take it. But that's just the stuff that you purposely set aside. So if somebody comes and robs you or comes into your house with 5 guys and weapons and masks, that you say, that's everything. Please don't take it. Please don't take it. That's everything we have. And you know they will. Then somewhere else, you've got the rest of your stuff. So yeah, everybody knows you're stocked up isn't exactly a good thing. Now, there's people that you probably will help when they come knocking on your door, and that is the right thing to do depending on the situation. But if it's some neighbor down the street that didn't listen to your warnings, yeah, you need to defend yourself with that sale that's going on over at Beretta. And then, thank you, Stephen Click. I'm proud to help others, and no one else matters. Just trying to support your message, Marv. Oh, I get you, Stephen. I'm totally with you. But you'll have to make a judgment call. Like if you're trying to protect your family, especially if you have kids and stuff, and then just some neighbor, you're an acquaintance, comes knocking on your door, are you going to give half your supplies to them? A lot of people have said yes, but I think that even those people that are, super, astute Christians, I guarantee you things are going to change when it really happens. I guarantee you the same people that say, I will help every single person who comes to my door. I don't think that's going to be the reality. And I think reality sets in real fast. Dex, go ahead.
The other thing about keeping your gas tank full, if your car survives through that event and you're without power, you can always tap the power of your car. And that's a pretty silent generator, if you think about it, as far as the noise level. An idling car is not nearly as loud as a gas-powered generator running. Now, it may not make sense if you're in a super condensed, dense urban area, but if you're in a suburban area, you might be able to pull it off.
Or a big truck.
Can get anywhere, you can get anywhere from 50 to even up to 100 or more amps if you direct connect off that battery with you need to have a decent cable. Don't do it with lightweight wire. But you can convert that into like 1,000 watts. It's almost like having a 1,000-watt generator. So having a full tank of gas and having a car that can run even after the fact, even if you're not using it to drive anywhere, can also give you additional power.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you think about how quiet cars are, you don't even look when your neighbor sits and idles in their car. But some of those trucks, like I have a truck down the street that when it starts, everybody knows. They leave at 5 a.m. every morning, and it's like, brrr! That's worse than the lawnmower engine sounding generators. The gas powered generator we have is not the best, but it is a high capacity. It is so damn loud. When we lost power for 7 days a few months ago, it just felt horrible. I felt like I was, because also all the power's out, so everything's silent. It is very weird when there's no power. Nobody's using TVs. Nobody's using anything. Everything is off. It was so quiet. And our generator was just like a hammer just smacking on a wall. It was horrible. I felt bad running it. Like, of course, I still did. But again, I even put it in. I built a greenhouse for my wife out of, the PVC plastic stuff and then metal bars. And I put it in there so it would be less loud, but it was still just so freaking loud. Dex, go ahead.
I mean, if you're not stockpiling just tons of fuel, but using your gas generator in the first day is probably okay because the chaos doesn't set in that quick. It takes about a day or two before people are going door to door, right, and listening for the sounds.
It depends on what people know, right?
It depends on what they know, where they are. But certainly my point, is to me, the first thing I would use up is my gas. Like I would use up the gas in the generator. I would use up the gas in the car. And then I would start worrying, maybe trade it off with some solar here and there. But, I know some people are like, well, what good's a car if you can't go to the gas station and get gas? Well, how valuable is it for you to have 8 hours of power from a car when you never have power again? You'd probably pay a fortune for that. when life is so miserable and you could have somebody told you you could have 8 hours of electricity, would you take it? Yeah, you'd pay almost anything for it. So just because the gas stations won't pump doesn't mean it's not good to not have whatever gas you have on hand or in your car and make use of it.
Well, mind you that and the how loud generator or a car is. That's why we've recommended solar too. If you want to be a gray man and under the weather, under the radar, then solar, charged solar generator is like the way to go. And then Iran shows off the underground city again, right? So we saw some pictures. Now they have basically released this just giant portfolio of basically showing every part of this thing. And the thing is I actually believe that this is true. This is a country that is solely focused on destroying another country. Iran and Israel have gone back and forth for a very long time. And both of these countries, I believe Israel is the same. I mean, they are both set on either defending or offending the other. They have for a very long time. They always have. It's kind of like if you have a natural predator, right? You're going to prepare for that natural predator. This is a predator that does not go away, right? On either side, because this is something that it's never going to end. These are religious rooted wars. So they can say whatever else it might be, or this reason or that reason, but when it really comes down to it, these are some hardcore wars that are never, ever going to end. Even if they have peaceful times, they just keep going. Unless we evolve into a type 1 civilization, this is not going to go away. But the videos released and this portfolio of images shows an underground city of missiles. Now, Dex, we've talked about this a couple years ago, and there was very little known about this underground city. This thing is massive. They can even launch planes out of it.
Yeah, it's like we've seen the planes in the tunnels in the sides of these mountains. I assume they've got a runway that just runs right out an opening on the side of the mountain. I don't know how they land. Maybe they've got an area to land, or maybe they bring them in another way on a tarmac and bring them into the mountain. But look, they have invested heavily underground because they know they are targeted, and anything that they build up they're going to go after it. So this just makes it that much more difficult for Israel or the U.S. To take out the arsenal of weaponry that they have built up over the years. And I suspect that this showing of force is in preparation for the upcoming attack on them that is being planned as we speak by Israel.
Twinkie D made just a great comment there. Says, but Caterpillar can equip every town with huge generators. It's fixable with our tax dollars. They just seem to be in the wrong people's pockets. Absolutely. When all those fires happened and everything, and you find out that a lot of the gear got sent to Ukraine, actual firefighting gear, it's a mind-blowing thought that in Ukraine they're sitting pretty, even building a $1.2 billion freaking resort, a ski resort. Well, there's places here that just are not prepared for almost the simplest disaster. It's stupid. It is absolutely stupid. All Things Random, again, thank you. I appreciate that. Briar Patch, Rob Mills, what is going on? Ilea, Roy Batty, what is happening? Ilea, nice to see you here tonight. And Rip, I saw Rip Curls in here as well. Has anyone tried a freeze dryer yet? I'm saving to get one, hopefully at the end of summer. Harvest to be able to get one. Latonia, they're awesome, and I bet you'll find there's a mini community here that is a freeze dryer community. It's a hobby. It's actually really fun. There's almost everything you can think of, almost anything you can think of, you can freeze dry and keep for pretty much up to 25 years. So yeah. Zadizia, Rochelle Cooley, Michigan Lifestyle. Always read in between the lines and think outside the kitty box, the sandbox. Yeah, well, the world is kind of a kitty box right now, isn't it? And then North Korea, Kim Jong-un touts AI suicide drones. Early warning aircraft. So, Dex, let's go over these unalive drones here.
Well, if you zoom in on that picture, does it not look like an exact copy of, like a U.S. drone, like an old MQ, I think it is?
Yeah,
I mean,
Reaper.
yeah, this is, I mean, they're many, many years behind, but it almost seems like they're just replicating a copy of what we have, of what we built. So, but yeah, look, they're entering the drone business and they're happy to show it off and show what they have, whether you call them one-way tickets to, doom, or if they're being used for reconnaissance and intelligence gathering and electronic jamming and other things that they claim the KCNA says it can do. So obviously a expensive device if you're going to turn it into a one-way drone. I think the ones you saw out of Iran are a little bit better for that.
I wouldn't have believed they could do this about 10 years ago because they didn't have the high-tech stuff, but now they're working directly with China and Russia. So they've been trading manpower for all sorts of stuff. Is it a coincidence that they send 10,000 North Koreans down to Russia and all of a sudden they have physical stuff like this? No. They probably even now have the ability to manufacture all sorts of things that they weren't able to manufacture before. You're talking about huge amounts of money. Like North Korea has had money. They've had a black market. They can get money. But to get tech across those into their country is a little bit harder. They have to directly work with China and get boats into North Korea, or they have to directly work with Russia, or they directly have to work with somebody illegally. And for them to work with Russia pre-sanctions, that wouldn't have worked. If they worked with China pre all of this stuff, it wouldn't have worked like this. But after sanctions, now all of these countries realize, like, hey, they can sanction us all they want. We can take Coca-Cola out of our country and we can put Volcala, and it will work just fine. So, and then, of course, when all of this happened, they're like, yeah, full speed into BRICS, right? They're going to create another currency, and even if the dollar is now the petrodollar, it has the signs of doom all over. We're not going to be using petrol in 20 years, that is what they're saying, right? So how the hell is the US dollar going to be the top dollar of the world when the only thing that is really connected to it is going away? That is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the transition. If you really go down to the root of it, it is the transition of changing over the world currency. The world currency is at the root of this, and how wealth will be distributed and how wealth is even going to be envisioned. It is the change of the world. You cannot build something up unless you tear it back. Unless you tear it down first. Build back better has so much more significance, and they know this. They're thinking of history books in 30 years. Build back better. You just wait. That's going to have historical. Historical importance here soon. Build back better. What a campaign slogan. Build back better. You have to tear something down to build back. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace right now. While you have a cell phone with internet, you can go and from the comfort of your couch get a kit with all of the antibiotics in it, all of the most commonly prescribed ones, and you can even add in, say, albuterol or other things like what Joe Rogan took and CNN slandered him about, right? In my opinion. Again, go over to marfooglenews.com/Jace. You'll talk to a board-certified doctor, and you'll be able to get this kit shipped to your door. Again, very quick. Very discreet. It's very easy. marfooglenews.com/Jace. Also go check out Jace Daily, where if you're worried about what happens if the hospitals aren't available, what if we do have our power go out, then go check out Jace Daily, where you can get a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds. Again, that's something that, there might be one in there that you have to take, or if you stop taking it, there's problems. Go check if they have it. And then we have, Dex, go ahead.
Hey, going back to the whole grid down scenario, there's when you think about something like natural gas, did you know that natural gas requires pumping just like gas stations do and just like water stations do? But natural gas actually has the ability to run. They're not called pump stations. They're called compression stations. They have the ability to run those compression stations off of natural gas itself on the way in. So diverting a portion of what's incoming to then run the generator to then continue the pressurization and move it downstream. So it could be self-sufficient, it could be EMP protected, and it could survive without the grid. But because we have regulations in California and the Northeast, a lot of the long-haul pumping stations are having to move to solely electric and not gas generation on that, because they don't want the noise and they don't want the pollution. And that then turns around and makes something like natural gas become more vulnerable when the grid goes down. But
So-
imagine if everyone actually had natural gas to their house and the grid was down. Going back to the comment you had earlier where they could put generators in places, you could put natural gas generators even in homes, and they could, in theory, continue to run.
We're creating our own vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
It seems like the last admin, whether you liked him or not, it seems like a lot of the decisions they made were purposely setting us back. Like somebody was on a Zoom meeting with them every time they were going to do something positive for the country. They're like, no, that's too patriotic. Let's take that out. If you catch my drift. And then the Trump administration is pointing spy satellites at our border. How many signs do you need to see that this is beyond cartels? We have, now we don't know how many troops. We know it's 10,000 plus on our border. We have the lowest crossings in history. And now they've got 2 destroyers backing them up on missions. We still haven't seen a strike inside of Mexico. No big story about that yet. So we have 2 destroyers down there. We have 10,000 plus troops. They continued, started up building other wall sections and things again. And yet we're pointing satellites down at it, almost as if we are watching this with a very careful eye, seeing if something's coming over. Something's going on. Building a Golden Dome, a missile defense system for the U.S. Why would you need that unless you've got a Navy off of our coastline that might be showing up? Why do you need that unless you have vehicles that these are vehicle-mounted missile launchers driving up the Darien Gap? You really think that they're going to build a $4 million bridge system in the middle of a jungle so people can walk across? It's not making sense. The fact that Muckraker showed us that this entire network all the way up had Chinese writing on every hotel, every step of the way, had instructions on how to go through and into this place. And these are all Chinese foreign nationals that could not get in the traditional ways. The traditional ways, I guess in the last 4 years was, let's download an app and book ourselves a flight to illegally get in. We're talking about people that couldn't have their name on that list because they're most likely very easily tracked back to the Chinese military. It makes complete sense. And it is so obvious and it makes perfect sense. But for some reason, people believe the media that's lied to them for 10 years and that says, oh, no, that's fine. That's crazy talk. Really? The most obvious thing in all of our faces is the crazy option, right? Even though every single sign, you can see everything around it. It's like out in space where you have a huge planet or something, but you can't see the planet, but you can see the gravity pulling in everything. Everything's getting pulled towards this one thing, but for some reason, you can't see anything in the middle. That's what's happening right now. You can see the gravity of all of what's about to happen. All of these little things are getting pulled in by the gravity, but you can't see the actual item itself. The item itself is what's looking like some sort of forceful attempt. I'll say it, some sort of invasion, or I don't even call what would an invasion be if they're already here? Some sort of hostile takeover. It's a strong opinion, but I think something big like that is going on. How many of you actually agree? Do you disagree, and why? Let me know in the comments down below. Stephen Click says, Build Back Better is rebellion against God in the Bible. Nations were judged would shout up against God saying, we'll do the same thing better. I didn't know that. That's a interesting take on it too. Bobby Sue, superstar tonight. Hey, says Steven. WISGen, 100% correct, Steven Click. I didn't know about that. I did not hear about that. Dex, satellites pointing at our border, like, I mean, doesn't that scream something's wrong here? Like, they've got every other thing looking at it. And it seems like, do you remember that at the beginning of the year where they said that 1,000 people in each country, that there was claims by the ex-spook? Got to remind you that she was a ex-spook in the honest show of a guy that's an ex-spook too. But said that there is a plan in place for 2025 for some sort of event where 1,000 people are already recruited in the U.S. and 1,000 people in Europe. Don't believe me? Go look. It again. What show was that? Do you remember the guy's name? I'm blanking it for right now. Somebody can put it in chat.
I'm trying to remember the show.
I can't remember his name for some reason. Somebody, millions of sleeper cells, says Sean C. Sean Ryan show. Yeah, go look up that claim, right? Nobody officially debunked that. Isn't that kind of odd? And media really didn't talk about it much other than actually repeating the claims. So that could be the thing that makes you not believe it because, again, usually they would, I don't know. The fact that they didn't try to debunk it is kind of creepy. Yeah. Anarchy Television says, unfortunately, we've been occupied by a foreign corporation called the United States. Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff there too that we are a corporation. I've accidentally said company instead of country a lot of times, and I basically say, yeah, same thing, right? Took months getting ready for Iraq, but it happened. This is gonna be epic. Blessed boys, hey, nice to see you. Yeah, Sarah Adams. Yeah, look up Sarah Adams on Sean Ryan. I don't doubt that. Even if it was an op, the fact that they planted that seed in January and then all of a sudden nothing for a while, when it does pop up, everybody's going to revert back to that interview and say, well, we knew about it. How did we knew about it. She even said it out loud. And how is there no actions taken? Why isn't there actions taken? Right?
Well, maybe that's part of the cover of why their ICE is working so hard to round up the folks that are in here, right? Maybe that, without saying it out loud, that's part of it. It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's a big shift from day one. When he came in, it was like, boom, go find as many of the illegals as you can and get them out. So I would think outside of the horrible, obvious gang members that, run front page articles, going after sleepers would be, in that top area. And they probably wouldn't be too vocal about that one. They keep that one under wraps.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much speculation around what could be going on right now. I think you really got to follow your gut. Put everything together. I mean, these aren't crazy dots. There was ops to make all of us look crazy by saying, oh, connect the dots. In media, they're doing a very strong push in movies and media to make the people online seem less credible than the people that are on TV. If you see on the shows on the TV, they always have media represented, properly, and they don't ever make them look goofy. They never make fun of the right versus left on movies and things. But what they do is they make that any YouTube content creator, like they always go so far into like the terms that, are used in YouTube, like, hey, guys, I'm talking to my chat. Hey, chat. Oh, guys, yeah, the president is an absolute. They make all of the YouTube people, and some of these are probably roughly based on myself and my peers. Think about it. There's only a few real names that everybody knows in this kind of space. It's a very small handful that really do get the bigger percentage of attention. And then you see certain ones that like all of a sudden just blow up and just get giant. I'm like, how do people not question that? How did they not let some people say, what that drone was called, but then some people can talk about every banned topic in the book? I'm like, that doesn't, how do some channels get just all of a sudden just blow up, whereas others get stuck and just stop. The second they get over the target, it's like, boom, you're done. And people believe the ones that are just wildly successful. That doesn't make sense to me. A lot of the things that are happening right now are very, very simple to see. And if you point out the obvious, you'll be targeted. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, the back to the point I was making about rounding up sleepers quietly. That could also be an explanation for the whole Gitmo revitalization. You know, they build it as, oh, we're just looking for the gang members that none of the countries will take back. But what if that's really, you know, part of it is to take any of those sleepers they round up and put them down to Gitmo to get them A, out of the country, but B, be able to contain them indefinitely.
Yeah, as far as everything and what was going on with Cuba a couple of years ago, you really have to go back a couple of years and you'll see everything is somehow connected. It's very creepy stuff. Michigan Lifestyle, thank you guys. Ilea, thank you for modding. Rip Curl, thank you for modding. Bobby Sue, thank you for modding. Jammer, thank you for modding. Nice to see all of you made it today. Make sure to go check out the mods over at marfooglenews.com/friends. By the way, Laura Griffin says, Man in the High Castle, great show. Especially when you find out who created that book, what he believed. I'm forgetting who made Man in the High Castle, but he I think didn't he also do Clockwork Orange? I'm getting confused. But I do know that the man who did Man in the High Castle in real life believed that something like that has happened. That there was an alternate reality that split off. In Man in the High Castle, the Germans and Japan win the war. And it's essentially a United States broken up into a Japan-controlled region and a German region. If you have time and haven't seen that show, watch all 4 seasons. I guarantee you have to watch past like the first 2 or 3 because it's one of those shows that's like a slow burn. But once you get into it, you're going to get into it. And there's going to be very few that say, oh, well, this just isn't my thing. It might be your thing once you realize that the gentleman who made it actually believed that this was something that was going on. Man in the High Castle. It's available on Prime. Kubrick. Is it Stanley Kubrick? No, I don't know. That doesn't sound like
No,
it.
he was
Full Metal Jacket, all that.
Yeah, he's gone.
And possibly the moon landing. I cannot remember who made Man in the High Castle. Why am I not remembering that? I'm surprised that 40 people aren't saying it's this, and this. I will pull it up. I'll pull it up real quick. Man in the High Castle. Who did it? Philip K. Dick. Thank you, Ilea. Gosh. I don't know why. And Philip K. Dick, of course, author of many crazy things, actually believed it. That's weird. That's freaking weird. Go down that rabbit hole on your own. Dex, thank you so much for your service today. I appreciate it.
Much love. Great job, brother.
JPass has never heard of it. Go watch it, or read the books.
1962 novel.
Yeah, 1962. That's even more mind-blowing. All of it was wrote in 1962. Go check it out. All right, you guys, it is now time for the end of the show. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. If you want to hang out and chat, you can. We're going to head over to Jams, where we're going to do a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. I wanted to say thank you, Stephen Click. Appreciate you today. Thank you, Virginia Olson says missiles hit Israel's airport. We are looking into that. Underlying ubiquitous fact, the ruling all wants to get rid of 95% of us by 2050. Many distractions from this fact. That's a scary, scary thing. All things random. Devin Backus, thank you. Everybody, thank you so much. Amorphous solar panels charge in low light and shade. Stephen Click, very correct.